15 years in business. We're over 100 locations now. We've never closed a store.
We've really focused on systems and processes and on the people.
On the top end, we're above $1 million in revenue and then 576,000 profit per store.
We want people who are passionate about the brand.
John went from 0 to 9 stores in 3 years.
We are Whole Foods quality with Walmart prices.
What's up, everyone? Super excited to have Onyi, the CEO of Glow, with me today to go over everything you've been building over the last 15 years. So Onyi, welcome.
Thank you.
Glow is super impressive. I'm going to start with a few stats. 15 years in business. We're over 100 locations now. We've never closed a store. And when I say we, it's you, right? I'm just taking credit.
It's we. There's a team behind it, right?
That is incredible. Not only have I not heard that in tanning or franchising, I've never even heard of that. And then when we dive into the item 19 on the franchise disclosure document, we see different quartiles of profits and revenue. And I'm just going to highlight the bottom and the top. The bottom quartile, we had 632,000 in revenue on average, with the profit at 252,000. And then on the top end, we're above $1 million in revenue and then 576,000 profit per store. That's after royalties are paid, before any loans, and debt services. But man, what a cool system. So give me a little background, like what have you been doing to build such a successful company?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So we've really focused on systems and processes and on the people compared to focusing on just growing. And that's the reason why, the stat that's used a lot was like, hey, we had 2,500, applicants last year, we accepted 4 because we're so focused on building an actual system. Mm-hmm. So now that the system's built and we're constantly still, investing a lot of money in building, continue to build the system even, better, the system, the tech and everything else. Our whole ideal or goal when we started franchising almost 7 years ago was to make the easiest, most efficient and automated system in tanning and in business in general. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of that. So that's really it. It's just making sure focusing on the system.
I will agree with that. Now I'm a broker for a brokerage that offers like 300 something franchises. Mm-hmm. But the only franchise that I'm personally buying still are Glow. So I would say that you're not pretty good. I think it's the best that I've seen, which is super cool. Let's move into each individual store and how many franchisees are there? 30-ish?
Good question. Probably.
With 100 stores. So most franchisees are owning multiple locations, and which is really cool. Like Riley, I'll just list out a few. Riley opened up 3 stores. She's 25-ish.
She just turned 25 yesterday.
Oh yeah, okay, that's awesome. And she has 2 more stores that she's opening.
3
more. Quinn, he's already at 3 stores. He's doing another 2 stores. John went from 0 to 9 stores in 3 years, and I think he's buying another 3 right now, and he's going to be at 12 or 2.
2, yep.
Which is incredible. So talking about that, what's the opportunity? Typically, what I advise people, when you buy a franchise, you buy a job. Mm-hmm. How do you go away from buying a job and into buying a business, and how does that work in the Glow model?
Yeah. So we do not want, people, they say it's, what's the word where, you're not actually operating your store, passive investor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're not looking for passive investors. We're looking for people who are going to be active in their business. But, what does that mean? Right? Are you buying a job? No. But part of it is also we want people who are passionate about the brand and are not just looking at it as, hey, I'm going to put some money in here like the stock market and just see it grow. So you actually have to know what you're doing. But how does it look? So we believe, it's not even believe, we know, you want to get to 4 stores as quick as possible. When you're able to get to 4 stores, then you're able to layer management to where now you can step out. As long as you build that, those 4 stores in the management the right way. Yeah. So you have your first store, you have a manager, you basically would be the manager at the beginning. And then you would essentially build a manager to phase yourself out. While you're doing that, you're opening store number 2. Now you're able to get that manager to now be an area manager, and that manager now develops 2 managers. So we preach replacing yourself always. So we preach that in our training and all our leadership and everything. When you replace yourself, you're able to step up. So it's like a pyramid, right? And there's a block. They're blocks, right? So say there's 6 blocks, and then above that there's 4 blocks, and above that there's 2, and then there's 1, right?
Yep.
So you have to build the block under you to step up. So that block is a person that you're building up. So you're helping a lot of, if you ever had a normal job, a lot of positions is stymies anybody else's growth because you think that if this person does well and becomes a manager, they have a possibility of kicking me out, right? With Glow, you want to build leadership as much as possible so that you can move up.
Yeah.
In addition to that, makes your job easier, right? So for employees in our management, that's what we preach.
Yeah.
So now you have 2 stores. You have an area manager. Under that area manager is 2 managed store managers. Under those 2 store managers is 2 assistant managers, right? So now you get to store number 3, store number 4. When you get to store number 4, now you have a district manager. Under the district managers, 2 area managers. The area managers are over 2 stores each. Under those area managers are 2 managers each. So now you have a district manager, 2 area managers, 4 store managers, 4 assistant managers. So how many layers of leadership is that? That's 4, 8, 10, 11. So 4 stores, you have 8 managers or 11 managers out of 4 stores. If any person in that pyramid leaves, you're fine, right?
Yep.
So just name one position of somebody leaving. I'll tell you how it works.
A manager.
Okay, manager. Easy. So the manager leaves, the assistant manager steps up. The area manager steps down. They're still the area manager, but they have a manager at the other store.
Yep.
They're stepping into the management position, taking the assistant manager and helping them grow to the manager. For them to grow to the manager, that assistant manager has to replace themselves. So you replace yourself, you build that block, you step up.
And when you say replace yourself, I want to distinguish, like, you're teaching this to your employees. It's not just franchisees. Yes, franchisees, we want to replace ourselves. And I also want to distinguish between, you said, once you get into 4 stores, you could phase out, but there's kind of 2 phasing out periods in my mind. There's that I'm in the door. I mean, I'm in the store day to day as the cashier, behind the counter to figure out the business. And maybe that's 6 months. I don't know. Maybe that's a year, and develop my leaders. And then I'm still full-time, but now I'm working on my business rather than in the business by focusing on opening up stores 2, 3, and 4. And then, if I'm understanding you correctly, now at 4 stores, if you want to phase out even more, you can.
Yeah.
Right?
If you're done at 4, you can phase out at 4. You have a whole system and a whole hierarchy. And because you worked in the store with store 1, that could be 3 months, that could be 6 months, that could be, it's however long it takes you to develop the right person, right? So now you understand what goes on in the store. So it's like I can look at a P&L, or I can look at the scorecard, like some of the tech that we have, and that we have like a nightly scorecard that shows you all the different numbers and breaks down all the metrics. I can look at that and know what's going on in the store, but I've also been doing this for 15 years, right? This is things that we teach, owners, and we also have a manager scorecard, so they don't see your numbers, but they see the metrics that they should be paying attention to, and they see their employees' metrics. So you want to be able to look and see, like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Like, people are stealing. They're not bringing up things correctly.
You have to know the business enough to know if they're telling you the truth.
Exactly. So being able to do that. And I think that, getting to 4 stores, really you can phase yourself out of store 1.
Yeah.
But if you want to be making, over $1 million a year, and also essentially be able to kind of, just relax and oversee it in a sense, 4 stores is where it's at.
I love it. So what are the ideal franchisees that we're looking for? And particularly, let's talk about tanning, right? Most of the current franchisees don't have tanning experience. So generally speaking, what is the ideal franchisee, and do you want them to have a tanning experience prior?
So I prefer that they don't have tanning experience. Our best franchisees are ones that come with a clear mind. So, it's the same thing as saying, like, hey, for Target, would they rather have somebody that worked at Walmart, or they rather have somebody who just has whatever skill set you need to have that job? If you come from Walmart, then you say, well, at Walmart, we used to do this.
Yeah.
At Walmart, we used to, well, this is not effing Walmart, right? So I don't care what you guys did at Walmart. I want a blank canvas, and I want to be able to tell you and preach to you what we do, and you apply those things. And people take bad habits from other places. So we actually prefer people that don't have that experience. But if you do have that experience, like, that's the reason why, typically at the beginning, most of our growth, until November 2024, we didn't have a sales team for franchising. So most of our growth was through current franchisees, and then also conversions. So people who were converting, who had current tanning salons were converting. We pretty much are not taking on any more conversions because of what I'm saying, where, well, at my salon, we used to do this.
Yeah. Well, let's build it from the ground up, have it look and match the system perfectly.
Yes. And we're probably more profitable than they, we probably made more profit from our average store than they did in revenue, right? And they're telling me what they used to do at their other store. And it's like, just shut up and follow the system, right?
You're like, we have 100 stores that this has been proven out.
And the other thing that insulates us as well is if you went to go get like, let's just say anybody's watching that says, oh, I think I can do this, right? I think I could do it on my own. Good luck. If you went to go and get a, $900,000 loan from a bank and you said, I want to do a tanning salon, I don't care if you're worth $100 million, they're not going to give it to you. Only way they'll give it to you is if you go and take $900,000, put it in a CD, and you borrow against a CD. So they're not giving you the money based on the business. They're giving you the money based on your collateral, right? So the only way that you can get that is from having our FDD that says, hey, 15 years, 0 closures, because the technology, a bed now is $40,000 to $50,000. We have some beds that are $70,000. So $40,000 to $50,000, it's different than 20 years ago, beds were $5,000.
Yeah.
So, we used to call it a housewife project, which is just like any Tom, Dick, and Harry says, oh, I like to tan, so I'm going to go open a tanning salon. Well, this is significant money now. So that also insulates us because tanning salons and restaurants are the number one defaulters in SBA loans historically. So that is to our benefit because unless you literally have extreme experience, good P&Ls,
you can't get in.
You can't get along. So it literally makes it to where the industry is so consolidated and the access to it is also consolidated. So it's really hard for you to get in.
Let's move on to the support that's offered because it's so cool how much support is offered, which is, I'm selling the franchise, but I'm also opening a franchise knowing that you personally are here in town to help me pick out a site right now and then negotiate the lease. And then you also have a construction company, which I really like how you do this, as well as real estate. Everything's optional, which is to me says, if you find a better deal, go get it, right? Especially on the construction. Construction is going to be the biggest cost in opening up, and most of these from the ground up. So it's about $900,000. Glow will also help me find, you guys also have lending partners, both SBA and non-SBA. What I'm getting at is the support is just huge. Can you list a little bit, quickly, what else are you guys doing to support franchisees and what are you guys not doing to set proper expectations for, potential franchisee listening?
Yeah, no, perfect. So I'll kind of go through the list real quick. So you talked about the construction. So I do have a GC company. I'm a construction company that I personally own that has employees, and we really mainly focus on Glow. I also own a lot of the real estate as well. So it's Glow and then also remodeling the buildings to make sure that they look the best. When it comes to the GC, I prefer not to even GC locations, but the reason why I do is because the bids that we get from some GCs are insane. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we can build them out for as much as possible, keep people within budget, which also helps the FDD because if I allow somebody to go spend $750,000 on a build out, when you add the equipment now on the FDD, it says,
the top salon costs at $1.3 million.
$1.3 million, right? And people always assume the worst, right? So I have to be able to keep them in budget. So what we do is we basically just say, hey, go get bids. And then, I'll review the bids. If the bids are good, we say, hey, go with this guy. If not, then we can come in and we can do it for you. But one thing that I am doing right now is I have a guy that in Arizona that's building his store and he has experience flipping homes. So he doesn't have any commercial experience. So I said, hey, I'll GC the first one with you, teach you how to do it. And then you could GC your own stores. And then all the other stores in Arizona, you can make a little money GCing them for those people. Right.
While still saving the franchisee money through the bid review process.
A ton of money, right? So, because for me, it's not, I don't care if I make $1 off the GC stuff. It's more pay my buys, keep them busy, and then also save the franchisee money.
Real estate, because we still need to get to job ad templates, interview guides.
Those would be a lot quicker. Yeah. Okay. So on the real estate, I also do have a commercial real estate firm. My wife's a commercial realtor. The reason why we did the firm was because I negotiated every single lease, like every lease that we've ever had for over 100 locations. I've negotiated every single lease, right? But what ends up happening is I end up start arguing with the realtor that the franchisee has because now the realtor is in the franchisee's ear trying to get them to accept a deal that's not as good as what I would, allow or accept and saying, well, he's not from here. He doesn't know the market. And I'm like, I don't give a F. Like if I'm from here and know the market, this is what Glow's willing to do. Yeah. I know our value to any plaza, right? Yep. We bring the most ideal demographic to any plaza for retail, which is middle-aged women. middle-aged women who buy men's clothes, middle-aged women who buy the cookies, middle-aged women who buy everything, right? So it's like, no, I know our value. I'm also a landlord, so I understand how the negotiations work. So no, we're not going to be arguing with your realtor, because you got to remember, the person who pays you is who you work for.
Yep.
They get paid by the landlord, right? So instead, it's like, no, we have our in-house team. We have a team of, dedicated people, like multiple people who literally do site selection, who negotiate the LOIs. I review every single thing and make sure. So when it comes to site selection, we use our own realtors. For site selection, when it comes to construction, you can use whoever you want. We just have to review it and improve it. We prefer not to do it anyway, but it's just about saving and keeping the cost down to where it's acceptable.
And the timeline to open up a Glow is typically, we sign the franchise agreement, we immediately start looking for sites and do the loan process at the same time.
Yep.
Loan can close in 30, 60 days, but we do need to pick the site first, which can take, 1 to 3 months. Construction is usually 4 to 6 months. Then we're at the grand opening, and the support around the grand opening, I really like the marketing, the ambassador and the influencer program, where Glow is targeting 20 local influencers to go post. And what do they get in exchange? Well, they get a free tanning session, which is so cool. And you guys also have a lot of partnerships with, NBA teams?
Yeah, professional teams.
You guys also have a lot of partnerships with like professional teams, which makes the brand, it just is really blowing up the brand.
For sure.
So the build out's going to be 4 to 6 months, which leads up to the grand opening. What is the grand opening support that Glow provides?
Okay, yeah. So a part of we put this as part of your loan, but part of your loan is $50,000 grand opening package, and that pays for everything for your grand opening. So, we're doing, mailers, influencers, we're doing Google and Meta ads, like 3-4 months out, building up the hype and, our whole strategy. So what we want is we do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's a line out the door on the day that we open. And what that does is that, number one, starts you off on the right foot. Almost every store that has had a line out the door on the day of opening is break even within 30 days. In addition to that, it also builds hype to where, we have a videographer, photographer, which gets paid by the grand opening package and all that. And then it gets everybody else in town, as they're driving by, when they're on Facebook and they see this line out the door. Whoa. Why are people waiting?
Why are there 100 people waiting for a salon that only has 15 beds?
Exactly. So it builds the hype, right? Because number one thing is FOMO, people, fear of missing out. So yeah, so like our grand opening, we have an amazing, CMO and amazing marketing team, and they do a great job on, getting as much. So we used to have our grand opening strategy and allow the owner, we just gave you like what to do, and you just did it on your own. You pay for everything on your own. And we were like, okay, explaining and teaching someone how to do this is just too much. Instead, we'll just bring it all in-house, and we'll do all of your grand opening marketing for you, minus the on-the-ground stuff that you have to do right before, which is passing out flyers and stuff
which
like
just
that.
Goes with everything else that Glow's doing. Again, people come into franchising, it's like, what do I do and what is the franchisor going to do? And what I'm seeing is like, Glow has the best system. You're still the quarterback, right? It's still your business. You're still moving the ball, but you're never asking what the play is, right? Every step of the way, which is really cool. And then it's like, okay, well, how long do beds last for? And how do they maintain them?
The best way to explain it, right? No, you are the team owner, right?
Okay.
So you are the team owner. It's just, we are the NFL, right? So we protect the brand, the logo, and we kind of give you the guidelines on what can be done, but you still own the team.
Yeah.
So if the team loses money, the team makes money is based on you. Your leadership is your quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So you own the team, right? You can make your decisions on the team, but even though you own the team, the Waltons own the Broncos, right? Even though the Waltons own the Broncos, the Waltons can't just do anything they want, because the NFL has
the guidelines,
rules and guidelines. So Glow is the NFL, and you are the team owner.
I like that. That's a good perspective. And because of that, the franchisee, whether it's a bed that's going down, or how do I maintain it, or guest services, which we've completely outsourced as well. So there's no phones in the salons, and all calls are going to trained professionals on how to save memberships and resolve concerns, things like that. All of it is done so the franchisee could really focus more, again, on their business rather than in their business. And they don't have to do any of the guesswork, which is really what we're after, right? I could start from scratch, but then what's the message that I send out to the influencer to get them to respond to me? I have to go figure out everything. Where Glow, it's just very, very plug and play. Tell me about the support in hiring as well as marketing. Typically in retail, hiring your employees is going to be the biggest concern and the biggest pain point. What does Glow do to support that?
Yeah, great. So for hiring, we have templates, we have training, we train you on everything. We have automated systems that kind of help with the hiring process. We have a lot of tech behind us. Like, you know, I would, a lot of times I'm like, we're more of a tech company than we are even like a salon, right?
Yeah.
So we basically, and we're constantly evolving and automating and making things more efficient and better. So we're actually in, you know, version like 8 right now that we're developing to make hiring more efficient. We always test things with the corporate stores before we roll it out to the franchisees. So we're currently doing that right now. So we basically just give you the whole system. It's extremely simple.
And then once they're hired, you guys
we do the training.
It's also train, which is something I still have yet to see in another franchise. That's like, hey, give me your employee and we'll do a full week of training for them and then hand it back to you. So that way they know how to sell, because they really salespeople, and sales training is different than training somebody how to put a pizza in the oven. For sure. Right. It's a lot harder.
Yeah. So we have a, you know, a training and development department that has, you know, 4 or 5 employees, and we're actually kind of scaling it up right now, and they, you know, handle the training, tell you everything you need to do. So you're a part of that process, but we have everything so, you know, automated and down and efficient on how it needs to be done. And then when it comes to marketing, we handle, you know, all your marketing, ongoing marketing. So we talked about the grand opening strategy, but then we have marketing after that. So obviously we're doing all the organic marketing, which is just, you know, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you know, all those things. Then in addition to that, all of your Google ads, Facebook, Instagram ads, we do all that. Everything's in-house. You're not paying any extra for the management of that. So we have, you know, basically templates on, hey, what do you want to advertise? You want to advertise free session, free month, free year? Do you want to advertise, you know, this particular service, spa services, spray tannings, whatever it is? So we have templates. We know what works. We're always analyzing
and making recommendations. Because I was just talking with one of the franchisees, and I'm like, how much do you spend in marketing? You know, because there's no management fee, but you still have to pay Facebook to advertise for you, right? She goes, I do whatever Glow tells me to. And I go, well, what is that? They're like, well, it changes every month based on the season. And I just say, do it every month, and every month it always works out. You know what I mean? So it's cool that it's custom, that it's like, I'm going in there and I'm saying, okay, this month it's recommended I spend $500 on Google and $700 on Meta. Cool. And then I get my monthly reports as well on exactly where those dollars went.
And the good thing is that we are managing the ads for everybody, right? Yeah. So with us managing the ads, like we have a particular person that's all they do, and they make really good money doing it. So essentially we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, well, you know, in Colorado, our cost per lead is, you know, $1.50, but in Tampa, our cost per lead is $3.50. Why is that? Do the ads differ? Or, you know, what's the demographic that we're targeting? You know, things like that. So we're analyzing everything across the board on 100+ stores to make sure that like it's as efficient as possible. And you can kind of see, you know, what's working and what's not working in different areas.
Okay. I love that. Jumping into one thing that I love is the reoccurring revenue and the wellness. I mean, these are two things that you don't immediately think about with tanning, but those are like the two hidden gems. Like over 70% of my revenue, I get it right at the beginning of the month, which is amazing. And then also the wellness, which is red light vibration plates. We mentioned a few of those, but can you go into a little bit on the business model on, you know, really pushing reoccurring revenue and then also having such a big emphasis on wellness?
So our whole goal is to have all of our bills paid by the first of the month, because we get our draft on the first, right? So typically break even is going to be about $35,000 a month. So that is if your rent's about $6,000 and if your loan payment's about $8,000. So obviously if your rent's $10,000, add $4,000 to that. If your loan payment's lower, higher, you can add to that, right? So we want to get to $35,000+ a month on the first of the month membership fee. So then everything else after that is now profit, right? So obviously that is a good model that makes sense when you're looking at, like, say, a restaurant. Every single day you're fighting for new revenue. Every single day you're fighting to keep those customers. Compared to with our model, somebody can have a bad experience. They're going to still continue to come in. Now, multiple bad experiences, they'll probably cancel, but they give you a chance because they have a membership. Right. So that's number one. And then tanning is seasonal. And so we say in tanning, we say Jason sucks. So Jason is July, August, September, October, November, right? With the spa and the wellness, what that does is that's not seasonal,
Uh-huh.
right? So if we can get as many people on the spa and wellness, so like we pay attention to our spa percentage, we want our spa percentage to be like 40%. If we can get you into spa and spray, but in particular spa, then when it comes time, say July, so tanning season typically ends July 4th, right? When it comes time July 4th, where most people would, freeze their membership or cancel, the person kind of thinks and says, I really like that wave, that well system that has the red light with the massage. I really like, the lay down red light. I really like the hydration station that, is basically a facial for my body. I really like these services that I use.
Yep.
So I'm probably not going to cancel. I'm not going to freeze it because I'll still use that. Now they might not use it at all, but in your head, it's just like a gym membership, right?
And it's the pricing though as well, that it's low enough.
It's called it's the invisible dollar, right? Because the invisible dollar 10 years ago was $20, right? So that's why Planet Fitness picked that $20 mark, and they just raised their price for the first time in 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Now we haven't raised our prices in over 15 years, right? So the fact that inflation has gone up makes our price seem a lot lower.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that invisible dollar where somebody's like, well, if we were charging $200, the value of what we're offering is probably worth $200 a month. We were charging $200 a month. When you stop using it, you're
going to cancel it.
Yes. But 50% of the people who buy memberships don't use it. So we're collecting a lot more per customer that actually comes in than how much we're actually charging. Right. The spa gets people to keep the membership even when they're potentially not going to use it, or it makes people think twice about canceling because they're like, hey, I'm probably going to utilize this.
Yeah, I like that. And again, there's nowhere in America that you could walk into a salon that looks that nice for $70.
Yeah.
And I say salon, med spa, massage part. I mean, any building, you know what I mean? Like, so it's on the business end, but I heard you talk before about that being part of your mission and vision for the company, providing that service at an affordable cost. Can you get into that?
For sure. So it's about accessible luxury. So we want people who typically would not have access to this type of service to have access to the service. We want to make people feel good. Yeah. So that's part of it. And so, it not only is it a positive thing that we can provide to any community, but in addition to that, it also makes business sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you can find something that you're doing that is good and also makes money and makes sense, then what's the objection?
Yeah.
Objective or rejection?
I think that leads perfectly to the next thing, which is the Own Your Future program. Like, that's good for business because it's good for employee retention. First, tell us what it is. But anyways, let's
So the Own Your Future program is a program that we developed about 3 years ago. And so 15 years ago, started the first salon. I was, 21 years old, University of Arkansas. And at the time, up until, 2018, I had a really good relationship with the girls that work for me, and I've been invited to a million weddings and, all the things or whatever. And they would come and work for me for 4 years, like freshman year of college up to senior year of college. The first store was across the street, literally directly across the street from the University of Arkansas. So I'd have 20 employees, 18 to 23.
Yeah.
And they would work, and when they would graduate, they say, I'm going to go get my big girl job. Will you write me a recommendation? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I'm proud of you, whatever. And I'd go to their graduations and all the stuff, right? And then after a while, I'm like, why can't we be the big girl job?
Yeah.
Right? Why can't we be what they graduate into? So now, as we started to grow, now district managers make really good money, more money than the average college student who graduates makes, but that's only one person, right? So then how do you get to where we can make that make sense? So it's like, okay, and then also, where do you graduate to after you're a district manager? Do you stay there for 20 years and then cap everybody else's growth? So basically we're like, okay, well, how do we have the people who care about Glow the most, the people who, are passionate about it? How do we let them, become part of this? And then in addition to that, we had 2,500 applications. We accepted 4. Well, a big part of, probably 1,000 of those people had the money, but they didn't want to operate. Mm-hmm. So now how do you kind of blend the two? So it's like, I have the investors and I have the operators, right? Now let's merge those together, give this person a life-changing opportunity to go from an employee to an owner. give this person an opportunity to basically own something that's going to make them a ton of money, and they do no work.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we did. And right now we have about a dozen former employees that are now owners, and they love it.
Which is crazy. Like it's not just something that you're saying. I think number of stores though is 16, which out of 100 stores, that's 16% of your current stores are owned by people that went through this program, started at $8 or $12 an hour, whatever that was, and now own a salon that has, you know, potential for multiple six figures.
And every single, you know, Own Your Future program recipient, the investor is trying to get them to 4 stores as quick as possible, because they see that the, you know, first or second store is doing amazing. So they're like developing out. So, you know, it's every single person is going to own a minimum of 4 stores. That is an Own Your Future program, because the investor is looking at it and saying, okay,
why wouldn't I?
Yeah. I'm putting up $100,000 for a new store, and I am, you know, profiting X amount. I need to hurry up and get this person at 4 stores, because obviously that person becomes basically like the district manager, but they're the owner as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're way more invested. But now again, the investor got what they want as well. It's such a good.
Yep. And the person who is graduated that has been a district manager more than likely, because they've worked their way up to that district manager before graduating to the Own Your Future program. So
and that's why those are the best performing stores typically, you know, the Own Your Future program, because those are the people that were in it the most.
Yep.
So investors being paired with them.
Yep. But I will also say this, because I think people are going to listen to this and say, well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
The thing is that if you flip it on its head and you think about it, right, at this point now, the only people who've ever given up an employee to do this program has been me. I have people who've done this program that are, you know, that are not me in terms of investing, but they have invested in their own employee.
Yeah.
If you have a great employee that deserves to be an owner, it's very hard. You're more than likely not going to give them up to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. I have also created an incentive to try to get people to do that more, where it's like, hey, if you give somebody up, that person will pay you $25K for, you know, the training and the effort and everything that you've done. But people are still more like, hey, this person's ready to have a store. I want to invest in that person.
I don't want $25K. I want $200K.
Yes, I want to be the investor in that person. I'm the only person who's given up my employees to go, you know, have another investor go and invest in them.
Yeah. So to explain, like, to go through that program on the employee side, you need to contact a local Globe and just be hired, and then go through that. It's not applying here. Yeah, no. And then also on the investment side.
Yeah, on the investment side.
Don't come to us and expect us to give you an employee. Come with an operator.
Yes.
The good thing about that is they don't need tanning experience, right? They just needs to be a good worker.
And what I've seen a lot of people, their plan on what they want to do is, hey, I'm going to get to 4 stores personally. After I get to 4 stores, everything else that I'm doing is investing in employees to go and move to a state, 2 states away where they have family, and I'm going to invest in them to do that. So I'm taking the profits that I'm making from here and using that to go and invest in the employee somewhere else.
And you mentioned $100K to open up a store, but we also mentioned the $800 to $900K. It's because the loan, right? I just wanted to kind of
it's a down payment.
100 to 150,000 is what the bank's looking for, and then they could fund the rest. Which so far we've had 0 denials on the with any qualified prospects.
We have lending options that are non-SBA. They're going to require a little bit more down, so up to 150. Anybody's dealt with SBA knows it's pretty hard to deal with SBA, but SBA's only do 10%, so like 90 to 100,000 for SBA options. So it's less money down, a lot more paperwork and, you know, whatever. And the SBA also will, if you're not in a state that has a homestead exemption like Texas or Florida, then they will collateralize your house as well.
Yeah.
Not SBA, they don't dig as deep and they don't do that. So it also depends on
the interest rate is a little bit
it's a little bit lower.
It's a point less typically.
Exactly.
So right now Glow's expanding just really this year, right? Before that, you mentioned 2,500 applications, only 4 were accepted, and those were just your friends. You know, we know the truth there. We opened up 29 stores though, because existing franchisees are loving the system and continue to open and expand. And you didn't want a franchise until you were ready, which I really like. And now you are ready, and we've turned up the franchising. I checked last week, we had 163 leads. The week before that, we were at 200. Like it's going crazy right now. So why now? And, you know, what advice would you give to somebody interested in Glow?
Yeah. So why now? So we have the systems and processes all in place. We've been doing this we started franchise. So the company didn't start franchise until 9 years after we became a company and been doing this successfully. We started franchising, but we didn't. Our second franchisee, our first franchisee was somebody I mentored. Second franchisee was my dad, right? So we did not franchise the people outside of pretty much my network, essentially. And then now we have a little bit, but it's been like, hey, this franchisee knows this person, they recommended them. So it's been very much like 1 degree of separation. And now we're bringing people from the outside. And we just know that we're in a good space. And we also know, like, you know, with the money that we're getting from the upfront franchise fees and all that, we're reinvesting in, you know, the teams and the tech and all those things. Like, you know, right now we're developing an app that's going to cost almost $1 million, right? So we're taking the money. I've never taken a paycheck. I don't get a paycheck and never have taken any money from franchising. So we're literally taking every single dollar that we're bringing in and we're reinvesting it into, you know, the system and the processes. I personally, you know, own 21 stores, you know, so that I operate myself. And so if you look at the FDD, you kind of know how much money I make. So not really too concerned with making money from the franchise itself, but being able to take that money, reinvest into making the system even better, having more support and doing things like that. That's pretty exciting. And our goal is to be the number one. We're number 3 right now. We officially, you know, have over 200 locations now in terms of in development and open. So, you know, we want to get to 800 in the next 5 years. And I think we'll be able to do that pretty easily.
That's amazing. And if you do it correctly, just like you're building your 4 stores, you're investing in others, you're building generational wealth. You know, this isn't something that you're just making a few dollars here and you're going to flip it, which I really like, while you're providing that accessible luxury to all of America. So, Onyi, this is incredible what you've built. Thanks for sharing with us.